Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. So my dogs are very hyper and they're playing, so you may hear them in the background. So today we are doing, basically, since it's the month of December, I'm so excited to get to do Christmas themed, December themed videos. So today I'm going to be taking a Christmas classic and trying to rewrite it into a modern day short story. So this is going to be quite the challenge. One, because I'm not inspired for this at all, so I'm going to plow through this anyway. Two, because I know the Christmas classics, but it's not like, I don't think I know them like as well as I would like to in order to write a story based off them. Three, they're longer, and I'm gonna be writing this as a short story, so I'm gonna keep this under 1,000 words. That's my restriction on myself, so hopefully we can get this under 1,000 words. Four, I actually have a time limit for how I'm filming right now, so there's that. So we're going to see how this goes. So first of all, I'm just going to do some research and figure out what Christmas story, classic Christmas story I want to do. And we're just going to get right into the creation process, which the first part of that is, of course, the research. So the main one that I know of is A Christmas Carol. I think, is that the one with the ghost of Christmas past and present and future? Because I think that's the one with Scrooge and all that stuff. And I know that one so well because it's kind of a tradition to watch the Disney's A Christmas Carol with McScrooge the Duck and Mickey Mouse and stuff, and I watch that all the time. So I've seen like the Mickey Mouse version. I don't think I've seen any live action movie version of it. I've seen obviously retakes of it. I remember this one modern day rom-com with Matthew McConaughey, which is like Girlfriends of Christmas Past or something, and it's where his ex-girlfriends visit him and change his life because he's a bit of a player. So I've seen different retellings like that. So I'm taking the whole concept of the Christmas Carol and turning it into a modern day retelling. I think I've done it as a fan fiction for Star Wars, where Darth Vader was visited by the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future, and I did a version of it for Christmas years and years ago. But anyway, so I'm thinking about trying to challenge myself and pick something else. So let's see, list of classic Christmas tales.
One eternity later.
Okay, so after looking and looking, and I couldn't decide which classic Christmas tale to do, I was like, okay, maybe this isn't a good idea for a video because I'm not inspired. I don't want to do something and do a video and write something that's going to basically be crap. But then I got to thinking about Rudolph, and I was like, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It's one of my favorite classic Christmas stories. I love the song. There's been a few kids movies made out of it. The classic one, of course, I grew up with, and then there was another one later that I grew up with. And I really like it, and it's one of those things that I know really well, so I feel comfortable writing it. And I'm like, well, first of all, it's about a reindeer, so trying to translate that into modern day with an actual, like, character, like an actual person, is going to be the challenge here. And then the word count and everything else. So I'm going to try to do 500 words at least, so between 500 and 1,000 words. So let's just jump right into the creation process. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is make down some notes on the main point of the story of Rudolph. Okay, so the main points of the story is that he's different, he's bullied, people don't think he's going to be anything in life, then the bad snowstorm comes, and because of his nose, it lights the way, and he's the only one who can lead the team. So he ends up becoming important and valuable because of how he's different. So I need to figure out how to incorporate this into an actual human story. So I'm going to have a guy character. He has to be different, he has to be bullied, people don't think he's going to go anywhere or do anything with his life. They're working across from us, and I literally can't think. Ugh. It's like impairing my creativity. Okay, just breathe. You can do this. No, I can't. I can't think. Oh my gosh, I can't think. I also got a hair in my mouth. Okay, just breathe. I can do this. Just ignore it. I need silence. I can't work in these conditions. Okay, so I have done it despite the super distractions because my neighbors are working and that makes my dogs go nuts, and I had a lot of issues and had to stop and stuff. So I've finished the story. So it actually was a lot longer than I was expecting, and I really like the character in the story. So the word count, I highlighted it here. It's 1,091 words, so it's just over 1,000 words, which was exciting because I was not expecting this to get over 500. But it turns out that I really relate to a writer who's going through this situation. I personally haven't had near as bad as this, and my family has been super supportive. So, but I can imagine her situation really easily. So let's read through this and see what the outcome is. So the original story is Rudolph the Red... Oops. So the original story is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. He's a reindeer who's different. People don't like him. Bad snowstorm comes, and he's the only one who can lead the sled, so he becomes important by the end of the story, and I incorporated this with a writer. So let's see how this Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer modern-day retelling, what it looks like. Macy pursed her lips and glared at the screen of her laptop. The incessant blinking of the cursor stared at her as if taunting her. Wink, you can't do this. Wink, you're not a good writer. Wink, you'll never be anything in life. Wink. With a frustrated sigh, Macy closed her latest story and placed her head in her hands. All her life, her family had doubted her decision to be a full-time author. No income of her own, supported by her roommates, including her sister, so it was no wonder her father and aunt didn't think much of her. To them, life was about work. Work and income, what you could do, what you could make, being successful. They'd both climbed the corporate ladder to run the business they had today, and Macy had chosen not to do the same. In their minds, she sat at a desk and typed all day, which didn't count as work. Macy shook her head to rid herself of the thoughts. With the negative thoughts like that in her mind, it was no wonder she had hit writer's block. She only had an hour before her family was going to get together for Christmas dinner. Really quickly, she hopped on social media and made a few posts, teasers for her upcoming book to build the hype. It took the majority of the hour just to make the graphics look right, so she only had 5 minutes to post the caption and share it on social media. That left her 5 minutes to rush around and get ready. Macy had just slipped on her shoes that matched her Christmas sweater and jeans when her phone buzzed with a text. "You coming, Macy?" Her father had texted. "On my way," she replied back. Dread oozed through her as she put her shoe away and slipped into the driver's seat of her truck. Ugh, family was so difficult sometimes. The flurries of snow picked up by the time Macy pulled into her father's driveway. Worst case scenario, she'd have to stay here in her old room for the night in case they got snowed in, which looked like that was going to be the case, judging by how furiously the snow whipped around her in a frenzy. She hugged her jacket tighter and rushed and rushed from the car. Inside, her family had already started eating without her. Voices buzzed around the room, and Macy couldn't stop the smile that lit up her features. "Macy, good to see you, sweetheart." Her aunt gave her a tight squeeze and hugged her and tugged her into the dining room. "About time you got here," her dad muttered. He gestured to the plate in front of him. "We waited on you like one pig waits on another." Macy rolled her eyes. "Dad, that joke doesn't get any funnier each time you tell it." She sat down, said a quick mental prayer to thank God for the food, and delved into her own plate. Her aunt picked up the conversation, bragging about her son, Macy's cousin. He had just closed in a deal. "I'm so proud of him. He's been working so hard this year." Her older brother nodded where he sat across from her aunt and chatted about how much overtime he'd been working at the factory. Even though he didn't follow in the business, their father still appreciated his work ethic. Dread welled up inside her, building like a pressure tank about to explode. Macy gritted her teeth, waiting for the conversation to turn to her. Macy's aunt slid her gaze toward her at last. "Well, Macy, have you searched for a job yet? I think your brother's factory is hiring." You could get on there. They make a decent amount of money." Macy gritted her teeth and fought the urge to slam her fork down on the table. "I already have a job, Aunt Jane. I'm an author, remember?" Aunt Jane rolled her eyes. "Oh, please, Macy. You need to start thinking seriously about your future. That's not a real job. No real work's involved in it. And besides, it isn't as if you've become famous. That's a pipe dream. You need to get your head out of the clouds and bring it back down to earth where it belongs." Macy's father, yes, her own father, shook his head with a chuckle. Macy's always been different, a dreamer ever since she was a child. I just expected her to grow out of it." Macy flinched and glared down at her plate. Yep, this was going to be another miserable holiday. "Why, God, can't they see my worth?" Macy mentally prayed. Suddenly, the electricity shut off. Macy shivered from the cold. Her father and brother went to go check the breaker, but ice covered the power lines outside. Some of the little kids, her cousins specifically, complained that they were bored without the television on. Their phone's battery had also died, so they couldn't charge it. "Well, we'll just have to sit and talk." "Ugh," her cousin's daughter groaned. "Boring." Macy clutched her bag to her chest. Inside was one of her books, just recently released in paperback. "We could read a story together." Her father shot her a look. When her cousin's children groaned again, Macy grabbed their hands and pulled them to the couch in the adjacent living room. "Oh, come on, it's just like TV, but you have to close your eyes and use your imaginations. Reading's good for you." Without waiting for a response from the kids or her family, Macy sat down on the couch and opened up her book. At first, Macy spoke softly and stuttered. Her breathing increased, and she could have sworn she was about to have a panic attack, especially with her aunt and her father's eyes glaring at her. But after a while, she opened up and became more expressive and open with her reading. She characterized all the voices and began to move and act as she read. The kids oohed and awed at some parts and gaped at her wide-eyed and eager for the next part of the story. Over the night, even her brother, cousin, father, and aunt moved into the living room with her. Then the lights came back on. They were lucky the power company got them back so quickly. Macy closed the book. "Well, it looks like you can watch the TV again." Aunt Jane shook her head and turned the TV off. "Nonsense. Keep reading." So thank you guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed this Christmas-themed writing challenge where I took a classic Christmas tale and turned it into a modern-day retelling. I picked Rudolph, and it was very challenging, but it's fun. So instead of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, this story is called Macy the Not-So-Famous Author. So if you guys have enjoyed this video, please give it a like, as that really helps out my videos, and be sure to subscribe for more writing and reading videos every Monday. And if you'd like to see another writing challenge that I did where I took stock videos and wrote a story for each one based on the keywords that was given to me, then click here. Trust me, it's another writing challenge video that you don't want to miss.